Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Taboo talkers out there in TV land. Welcome to WeBeam TV, and this is Taboo Talk with Ray and Steve. I'm Ray Amanat, your host, out here in the WeBeam TV studios in Port Richey, Florida, and I'd like to bring in my co-host and partner in crime, Mr. Steve Reed, somewhere in an undisclosed safe house in Texas. Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Ray. I love it when you say that. Sometimes it's not so safe with my two little dogs running around. But I'm safe right now.
Well, I'm excited for today's show.
So am I.
I'd like to get started with, our show is brought to you by a number of sponsors. Our first sponsor is, of course, my foundation, which is Heroes in Action. Heroes in Action is a nonprofit dedicated to educating people on violence prevention. I'm also an author of the children's books, a coloring activity book, and Bully Victim or Hero. We're doing a fundraiser. We're having our annual fundraiser, which is through givesdlday.org. And we have a QR code that will give you access to that site where you can make any type of a monetary donation, which will help us with our programming and our handouts that we give to kids when we do our lectures and seminars. So if you guys can, kind of check the website out or look up Heroes in Action on the website, that would be great. And of course, our website is heroesinaction.us. So for today's show, our topic will be on immigration, election integrity, and local involvement. We're joined by Ms. Lucila Seri, and I apologize if I messed that up, who is a legalized immigrant from Argentina and founder of Save Texas Rally and Prayer. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, gentlemen. It's my pleasure.
Now, we're excited to kind of get your viewpoints on what's going on at the border and what's going on with our immigration policies, especially with President Biden wanting to terminate some of the policies that are going to make it easier for people to just come across the border. But I do have a question, and I got to know this before we get started. How do you and others that have legally acquired citizenship in the United States feel about what is happening at our borders with illegal immigrants coming across? Can you share what you needed to do to become a citizen as well?
Yes. So to begin with, how we feel, not happy at all. Is, if anything, this is a lack of respect for all of the legal immigrants like myself that we had to go through the due process, which involves not only filling several very complex forms, gathering extensive supporting documentation, and paying thousands of dollars. And this is if you do it yourself. If you have to go through a lawyer, it can go up to like $10,000 or more, plus wait, plus not only the process, it's even once you get approved, you have certain limitations in this country. For example, in my case, I had to be sponsored, meaning that, God forbid, if in the first 10 years of me being a legal U.S. resident, I applied to government assistance, my sponsor was liable and he would have gotten the bill for that. So we had to abide by that and respecting the fact that, hey, we don't have the same benefits as the citizens do. So now seeing the situation at the border where the people are not only cutting in line, coming in from countries where the situation is not as desperate as they say they were, because the United States has a refugee program for countries in extensive situations. Most of the people that are coming are not, but are still welcome into our country. In the majority, they are allowed to. They have like a conditional status for the first year. Then they're allowed to file for refugees. So all of that is free government money without doing anything. So they come, they cut the line. They get a bunch of government benefits. When On the other side, people like me that did it legally, we had to wait for the process. We had to go through a very tedious process. We had to spend a lot of money. We had to respect the law. And now it's like, why? Why is it valid for them and not for us? I tell you, I got to the point where I was stopped, but I was very close to suing the US government for this, because we as legal immigrants, we are outraged at this situation. It's crazy. And we have a federal government that gives our illegals more benefits than us. When it was all the vaccine mandates and everything, were they testing at the border? Were they mandating vaccine mandates? No, because these people have more rights than we do as citizens. If the illegals that come get vaccinated or something and something happens to them, guess what? They can sue the US government. You or I, we can't. So yes, long story short, I'm very upset at the border situation and the inaction of both our local government in Texas, because Greg Abbott speaks a lot, but he speaks this and achieves this, but our federal government is working more for the illegals than for the American citizens. That is the situation nowadays.
Well, still a couple of questions. First of all, how long have you been in the United States? How long have you been a citizen of the United States? How long did it take to go through that process? But then as a follow-up, what do you see from an immigrant's perspective, from a legal immigrant's perspective? What do you see are the biggest challenges the United States is having?
So how long it took? So I first came in this country for work in 2009. And then my plan was come, do some training and go back home. God had other plans, and I met who is now my husband by then. So we started, my husband and I, we got married in early 2010, and it was over a year for me to get my conditional green card, because first they give you a conditional green card for 2 years that if you don't abide, then you cannot renew it for your temporary resident status. So I got that back in 2011, I believe it was May, so it was a little over a year. But let's consider that I'm from a country that we have, compared to the rest of the world, we have quite little immigration. So my case moved far faster than others. I can tell you, I work in the IT industry. I have several coworkers and friends that they are from India or from Malaysia, and their situation is completely different. These are people that have their work visa, have been working in this country, producing, paying taxes, every 3 years have to go through loops and hoops to renew their H-1B. And if they want to look at a permanent residence, they're looking at a 20-year process. And here we have these people coming at the border and jumping the line and moving these hardworking people that have been contributing to our country and have done things legally. They keep on bumping them down and down and down. So yeah, so it's been quite, that's why I got involved with Texas Science Illegal Immigration initially. And well, then that mutated to Save Texas Rally, as at the moment, people were not focused at the border, and there's many lies in the mainstream media saying that the border is under control, which is not. I know that we'll talk Title 42 soon, but no. These people try to portray the border as a humanitarian crisis. It's not. We are enabling bad behavior. These people left their countries for a reason. And now by these people coming into this country, we end up replicating the reasons why these people left their countries in the first place. Because all of this open border is just part of the socialism playbook that is fill your border with illegal immigrants, pay people not to work, fill your economy with these illegal immigrants, and come up with a class that you can control, because you always have this rate of like, I'm taking your papers back, so you better comply. So, yeah.
So, okay, let me ask you a real quick follow-up to that. You said something a minute ago that there was a 10-year process with your sponsor that if something happened with your sponsor, they could go to jail, number one. Is that correct?
Depending on the extent, yes, they could go to jail, but at the least, they get the bill for any government assistance that I might get. And when I did it, it was 10 years. Now that was changed, and it's for lifetime. Like now I'm sponsoring my mother and going through all this paperwork, all this process of sponsoring her, and I'm liable for her for lifetime.
Okay, so then does that mean if you do something wrong, then you're automatically deported back to your original country? Is that correct?
At this point, being a citizen in my case, no. But before, while you were a resident, or even more when you were a conditional resident, deportation was always an option. As a citizen, I think that I should have to do something very bad to have my citizenship revoked, probably treason or something like that.
But that's not what's happening with the illegals coming across the border. If they commit a crime, they may be deported, but 5 minutes later, 5 days later, they're coming back across the border.
Yeah, well, the problem with that is that not all of them get deported, because let's consider something with the border. Every time you guys hear, oh, we have apprehended XYZ amount of people on the border, anybody in Border Patrol or Homeland Security can tell you that on a good day, they capture 20% of the flow of people going in. So just the numbers that they're reporting as apprehended, that is 20% in best case scenario of the total of immigrants that are coming in. So yeah, I lost track of your question. I talked too much. So can you?
You're fine. You were fine.
Yeah.
You're very involved with this in your community. How can other people get involved to be more of the solution rather than just sit and throw their hands up in the air and do nothing and be a part of the problem? What can people do?
So getting involved, at least I know you guys are all the country, but for Texas, in our side, that is something that we try to focus on, helping people getting involved. From partnering with other grassroots organizations that we know that they're doing actually stuff that helps. That is the key, productive stuff, because there are so many organizations that are doing and they sweet talk you, and some of them are trying, but they're not achieving. Some of them are just about fame from the organization builders. So that is something that we focus. If we have been working around with many organizations, so we know the ones that are actually into action and getting results. So through our site, SaveTexasRally.com, you can find, if you're in Texas, not only several grassroots organizations that depending what is the priority that you care the most. Because yeah, for me, I'm like an octopus. I try to be involved in everything, majorly the border, but then election integrity, it's quite key, because we can have a closed border, but if we don't have election integrity, what do we do with this country? And also medical freedom is another one that is key. But for us, we go from there. Then we have monuments protection, because that is also part of protecting our history. They always say history repeats itself because people don't learn history. And they don't see, hey, this that you're talking, it was tried before and failed miserable. But if we don't educate people, they cannot do that. So from that standpoint, in our site, we have that. We also compile conservative events in the area. But from other places locally, I would say start looking at your county site, your county and your party side. They have different activities. You can get involved from being a precinct chair and getting more involved in the activities that your county is doing, or attend your local meetings. Like in our case, my husband attends religiously the commissioner's court meeting. We have other people in our community that attend student board meetings, city council meetings, and putting pressure. And that is a way, that is kind of shooting two birds with a stone, because you get informed and see what is going on locally and the impact that local elections have. that a lot of people are not aware that local elections matter a lot, more for our pockets, for taxes, for how our kids are educated, for local mandates, for everything. And then from there, you can learn and you can get involved and become, as I say, precinct chair, or you can become an election clerk, or if you're concerned about elections, you can become a member of the ballot board. All of these, start attending local communities or check with your local county party site. It's not easy, but it's doable. And hopefully we have somebody in Florida and in St. Louis that might do a similar site than what I did, because that is the whole purpose why we created Save Texas Rally. As we notice the complexity for people that wanted to do something to actually get involved. And we acknowledge that not everybody wants to get involved in the same thing. So I'm a system solutions architect. I'm all about streamlining processes and like giving you the solution in a silver plate. So that's what we're trying to accomplish with our site, to promote involvement and to get people familiar with the candidates. Let's not vote for a candidate just because he or she is charismatic. Let's look at their voting record. Let's see if they're the incumbent, how is both their voting election record and their voting records in the legislature. It's like we need to study our candidates. So yeah, long story short, those are many ways to get involved.
That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing on that. And that's, everyone needs to, research, do their homework, get the facts on what's going on in their communities and how immigrants coming in illegally affects us, not just in our communities, but affects us nationwide, because there's going to be a snowball effect that's going to affect everyone within the education system, within the health industry, hospitals. They're not going to have insurance, all of them, and it's going to fall back on all of us that are paying taxes and doing everything that is in the book the right way. We have to take a break for a second to pay some bills. So, Steve, if you can tell us a little bit about Lifewave X39.
I am happy to do that, Ray. Several months ago, I was introduced to this little patch. And this little patch, actually, when you put it on your body, it actually stimulates or activates your own personal stem cells to get back to work. Now, I'm in my 60s, and by the time we reach the age 60, our stem cells have pretty much gone dormant. With this patch, it's literally phototherapy. It reflects light back into your body. It activates your stem cells to go back to work. Just some of the benefits: you get better sleep, rapid pain relief, you're going to have wound healing. You'll even have some things like wrinkles that are going to be reduced or subsided. I got to tell you one real quick story. A personal friend of mine, I'm just going to call her Janet. She was actually serving in the military. She was in Iraq during the Iraq War 20 plus years ago. And because of all of the chemical plants and the oil refineries that were blown up, they were dealing with all kinds of problems with actual poisoning. Well, she developed some autoimmune issues, and she was dealing with that in constant pain, literally for the past 20 years. I introduced her to the patches, and within just a matter of days, the pain literally went away. In addition to that, she told me a few days later that she had the best night's sleep she had had in years. So if you're looking for relieving some pain, wound healing, better sleep, better focus, then reach out to me. I'd love to share some more information with you about Lifewave and specifically the X39 stem cell activation patch. So, Lucila, back to you. There are a lot of things that we can do, and you've mentioned a number of the different things that we do as we're getting involved. I went to a political meeting one day last week, and there were several different candidates that came and they spoke. I'm in Texas, in North Texas, several different candidates that were running for different offices. Is that one of the things that we should do on a regular basis? You said learning who the candidates are. Is that one of the good ways to get informed and really understand who the people are that we're voting for?
100%. Yes, we are very for going to these. Again, for me, we are conservative, so we go to the Republican clubs. But for people on the Democratic side, they have the same. That is a great way to go to the meetings. Listen to the candidates. Don't be shy to ask them the hard question. Remember, these people are trying to gain your vote. They need to impress you, not the other way around. So don't be scared. You need to, any concern that you might have, you need to ask them, because now that is the time to do it. And another key thing that people should do is get involved in the primaries of their party. That is key. For us, we were not aware until recently of the importance of this primary. And a lot of people normally think like, oh, the problem is between the left and the right. No, the problem is even within our own parties. Because nowadays, the issue is the establishment. We have establishment both in the left and the right. So getting involved in your party primaries, it's quite key. By then, again, by also vetting the candidates, but then supporting the candidates. Like me and my husband, we're very big on hosting meet and greets at home. As I'm on the process of becoming my precinct chair, my current precinct chair is inactive and he won't step down, but I'm still doing precinct chair activities, even though I don't take the position until July. And those activities are hosting meet and greets at home, putting packages together with the candidates I like, and like a letter of recommendation with, hey, these are the candidates that we bet, these are the early voting dates, these are the election dates. It's like, that is another way of getting involved. It's like, if you're somebody that already is doing this, that is like, hey, I'm already doing this, I'm already vetting the candidates, then share the message. There's a lot of uninformed voters. We have been working elections as election clerks, and so many people come and try to ask us, hey, who should I vote for this? Who should I vote for that? We're like, we cannot give you that information, but there's a need for that. As you say, people want to get involved and they don't know how. So if we can help spread that message of, hey, just walk a few blocks around your neighborhood and leave some letters if you don't want to talk to people. If you want to talk to people, even better, knock doors. Then you become friends with your neighbors. Who knows? Maybe you can not only do the elections, but put together some neighborhood watch as well. And kind of shooting more than one bird with a stone. I know I said the say wrong. I know it's another say, but that is my Argentinism of the shooting two birds. It's not with a stone, I know. But yeah. So yeah, that is a great way of doing it, and don't be afraid. My key message would be, don't be afraid of the candidates. Don't be afraid of asking the hard questions. No question is stupid question. Any question is valid. So yeah, be informed, be involved.
Very good, thank you.
Lucila, comparing your government from Argentina to our current government here, I would love to know your opinion on this. I believe that we live in the greatest country in the world. Yes, our country has flaws, but compared to other nations or other countries in the world, why are so many people wanting to come to live in the United States? What was it like in Argentina? What was the government like as a difference to what you're seeing with our government now?
So the government in Argentina, very corrupted. That is the problem. There's no law. The government is all friends or friends getting the benefit. Oh, we need to do this huge construction that is gonna cost millions of dollars. Then, oh, let's go through the bidding process. Oh, my friend, get it construction never happens. That is Argentina is, and we went through the same playbook that we're going through now. Because as you say, the US, America is the best country in the world. That is undeniable, or it used to be. Because that is the problem. We need to separate America as we know it and the current administration. Because the current administration, in my opinion, and the Argentinian administration, they're two peas on a pod. They're doing the same thing. The only difference is that America is a few years behind, but America is going through an intensive. The same things that we saw back home. Back home with the first taking God out of school, then indoctrinating children, then open the border, then extended unemployment for the Argentinian for them not to go out to work. The same is happening here. So that is my concern. When I got married with my husband 10 years ago, I started seeing the patterns under Obama. Then thank God we stopped whatever destruction they were heading to, and Trump gave us stop and showed us, hey, this is how America should be. Trump, whether a lot of people don't like Trump, mean trees, blah, blah, blah. Reality of life is that Trump was the best president in the world. Known. It's like every country would rather have somebody that put their country first, because that is the problem that is going on in the world. We're always worrying about somebody else. But I'm sorry, when you're in the plane and your plane is about to crash, they tell you, put your mask on first. Then you worry about the person next to you. That is the problem that I'm seeing with the current administration that aligns with what happened with Argentina. We are putting America last. We're putting everybody by America. We're fighting a war with Ukraine that we're giving $13.6 billion and endless military equipment. Why? What agreement do we have with them? Nothing. We're helping everybody. While our border is being, flooded with illegals, invaded. It's an invasion. Yeah. But that is, we're living in an upside down world where we're protecting the world and we're letting the US burn. And that's what happened with my country, is we care about everybody but us. Because we're so nice. No, we're not so nice. That is not nice. That is not smart behavior, if you ask me.
So a great percentage I'd say we're split 50-50, where half of America wants open borders, or less, I don't know, and then half of America wants regulated closed borders, safe borders, to make sure everyone that's coming or going is vetted and is going through the legal process. You have politicians that have an agenda, and then you have, in my opinion, people that have been brainwashed by the education system and by politicians that are not reasonable or irrational in the way they think. How do you approach people that are so far gone and try to get them to open their eyes to what's really going on with our government?
So for the people that are for open border, my question would be like, how will that work? It's like, what, we let everybody in, a free-for-all, everybody opens their houses to everybody because, hey, we're open up borders and sharing is, what, would that be communism? Because how would be, if the government would be paying for that? How does the government supports itself with our tax money? So ergo, we would be paying for that. So, hey, maybe they have some genius plan that I'm not aware. But I think that the people need to actually start looking at facts, because the problem that we have nowadays is that we're ruling too many things based on emotions. That's how it's like you get somebody emotional and facts go out the window. That is the issue that we have. So we need to start pointing, hey, open border. What are the issues with open borders? Drugs, human trafficking, crime. So how are we going to counteract that? What, more police, more law enforcement? all of that is more money, money, money. Who's going to pay for that? And then second, okay, we open the border. Where do we put all these people? Do we need to build more housing? Who's going to pay for that? Then work. What happened? What are these people going to be? Are they going to be living out of the government? Who's going to pay for that? Those are all the questions that we need to ask these people is how? How is it? Because the problem with people now is like, oh, somebody else will take care of it, so I don't care. No. It's not that they will take care of it. It will impact you at the end because whatever the government does, the money comes from the taxpayer in the majority. So it impacts us. So for me, is the open border. We had discussions in the past with the Democrats and the amnesty. Oh, let's do amnesty and then we'll cross the border. That happened, like 20 plus years ago. And now we find ourselves again with 30 million illegals again that they're trying to push for amnesty. Where does that end? That is the thing. We need to look at facts and stop thinking at emotions. Yes, these people, poor people, I'm not indifferent to these people that are desperate and are coming to the US. But my question is, why is it America's job to save the world? All of these people have homelands and countries. I came to this country and I adapted to this country. This country is great because of people coming into this country and absorbing the American way, the American dream, the American culture. If we open the border, this is going to be like a bubble. Nobody's going to be speaking their own language. It will be a divide and conquer, and the government will have its party because people won't be united and they can do whatever they want. So that would be my argument against open borders and against all the people that are like, oh, we should be nice with the people. It's like, no, we have so much work to do within America. Once America is back to be the America that we all know and love, and American values prevail, and we put America first, and we're back to being a healthy country and not being at risk of losing our US dollar as the back of the world currency to China. Like, we are in a very fragile situation. They're not helping. They're pushing. If we do open borders, that will push us down the cliff of socialism. That's my answer on that.
Oh, so you're opening so many doors. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when I grew up, I grew up on the East Coast, and I was very close to all of the historic places, like Williamsburg, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, not too far away from Boston, where all of the things were happening in the founding of our country. And in some of the research that I did, some of the history lessons that I learned, the country was actually divided 230 plus years ago. We were divided almost equally three ways. There were those people that wanted to support the king. Let's call it today the government, okay? Then you had roughly 30% of the people that said, no, we don't want to have anything to do with the king, We want to be the United States, or we want to be a separate country. And then you had a third of the people that were somewhat ambivalent, and they didn't care one way or the other. I'm seeing the same things happening today, that really the majority of the people don't really want open borders per se as we have it today. They want some controls. So that's kind of the first setup. Are you seeing the same thing? But as a follow-up, I saw something in the news recently where Governor Abbott, rented, I don't know what the count was, but it was hundreds of buses, and started taking illegal immigrants to Washington, D.C., of their own volition. They signed up, but took them and dropped them off in D.C. Is that a good idea? Should we also go to Wilmington, Delaware, the homeland of our current occupier of the White House?
Or to Nancy Pelosi's town.
San Francisco too, absolutely, and Chuck Schumer and so forth. So, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah. First, I agree with you that the majority of people want a better immigration process. We have a process, but it takes quite a bit of hoops and loops to jump. So there's room for improvement in this process. I think that is what the majority of the people want. They want a process where we can vet people, but these people won't be waiting for decades to be residents or citizens of the U.S. Regarding about busing of the illegals, I tell you, with Abbott and the border, he has burned me so much since I started getting involved with this, that I see that kind of as a dog and pony. If anything, he's helping the Biden administration to get the illegals deeper into our country. Why doesn't he turn the trip would be shorter if those buses went across the Mexican border? Phew. That would be what I would do. I would love if we could throw these illegals into the politicians' houses. Yes, I would love to see an encampment at Nancy Pelosi's backyard, or even at the Abbott governor's mansion here, because, Abbott has been doing stuff, but I call Abbott headliner Abbott, because he says, we're doing this. And then when you read it, like, it's a little fine print that he's doing. So I think that what he's doing is for the photo op. I don't think that it will be proactive. I think that, as you say, like, it's entertaining to see. But if I was a governor, I would think that there are other better options than doing this, like putting like a barrier in the border. Like in the latest Republican convention, we created a little noise because we passed an amendment to a resolution requesting to close commerce at the border. Another issue that we have at the border, our National Guard, they don't have ammunition. How are you going to defend without ammunition? That's why you hear that they shoot from Mexico and we don't shoot back, because they're not allowed to have ammunition. So that's another thing that we passed as a resolution. Let's close commerce and let's give these people back their ammunition. That is something that I would have done before busing people to DC, but that's just me.
Understand. I think you're right. I think it is a dog and pony show. I think it's an optics thing to take all of these illegals to Washington, but hopefully it will be a wake-up call that we do have an issue. We need to address the issue immediately and give our soldiers, the people that are defending the country, the ammunition, the proper tools and resources that they need. Finish building the wall, have the right number of guards along the border, and let them do their job. So, Lucila, we have to go to another break. We've got to pay some bills, and this portion of our program is brought to you by Natalie Thurmond. Natalie is a very dear friend of ours. She lives in Michigan. Natalie has been a Shackley distributor now for over 40 years. Many years ago, she was diagnosed as having arthritis, and she was told she would no longer be able to do some of the favorite things like sewing, gardening, and playing the piano. Well, since she started taking the Shackley vitamin products, all of those things have gone away. She is going strong today at over 80 years old, and she's not slowing down. She's running circles around a lot of people. She is full of energy. But Natalie also shared with me some things about some things related to Earth Day, which was last Friday, and she said the Shackley organization has a promotion going on right now with what they call the Get Clean Starter Kit. Now, this is a kit that's going to take care of your laundry, your kitchen, your bath cleaning products, and this little kit that you see on the screen right now is in value going to replace $3,400 worth of cleaning products. And the price on this program is only $128. You see, everything is concentrated with the Shackley cleaning products, so you're using your water instead of buying somebody else's water. So if you'd like more information on how to have a clean and healthy home and save a lot of money in the process, reach out to Natalie Thurmond. Her information is right there on the screen. Natalie, again, is with the Shackley organization, and she would love to help you both get healthy as well as have a clean and healthy household as well. Ray, back to you.
Thank you, Steve. Lucia, I want to get back to the comment that you made earlier about Governor Abbott. Yes, he could have spent the money and the resources instead of renting out or leasing the buses to bus people to Washington, D.C. He could have used that money to closed off another portion of the wall, kept on adding to the wall and adding to the security on that. So you make a very valid point with that. How can those resources have been spent better to have prevented future people from coming in rather than just embedding people further into our country? That's a great point. That's a great point. What is your biggest fear in America if these issues are not resolved? If we keep going down this path? I know you said it's going to lead us to socialism or communism. You've kind of come from that background from Argentina. What is that biggest fear?
My biggest fear is that, to end up in the same version of the country that I left, that a socialist country where reality of life, socialism, a lot of people are like, oh, socialism is so nice. We share the wealth. Oh, we care about the people. No, socialism, the way that has been implemented, it's a party for a few. It's the same thing as you saw during the mass mandates and with Hollywood or the government elites, where we're like, you wear a mask, you don't go out, you stay home. But then they were partying in their events without masks. Only the servants were in masks. They would go out for dinner during the shutdowns. So that's my fear. That's my fear that will become the new normal. And that is the issue that we go back home in Argentina and even more in places where they went full-blown communism, like Venezuela. Venezuela, you have people that were eating dogs and their pets, and you had Chavez's daughters and Maduro partying in the presidential mansion and enjoying their wealth and bringing their wealthy friends and having banquets and everything. That is my concern, is that the people are not seeing the double standards in this country, that now we still have our freedoms. We still can fight back. And that is something that I admire of this country. I'm seeing a fighting spirit in the American people that I have not seen back home or in South America. So my biggest fear is for that to go to waste. Because here we have people with drive. We have people that love this country. I tell you, parentheses, when I first moved to this country, I was like, wow, you people are way too patriotic. But now I thank God for that, because I think that will be the differentiating factor between America and the rest of the world. The fighting spirit of the American people. There's many people that, they're like, oh, it's never going to happen here. But there's many other people that I seeing them marking on the wall, and they're like, I don't want this to my country, so I will stand up and fight. So my biggest fear is for that to fail and for us to fall into socialism and end up being an oppressed working class that they're going to force us to get vaccines every, I don't know, maybe it will be every month by then, while the government and Hollywood and all of these sports elites do whatever and everything they want.
Lucila, you come with a very different perspective from a lot of people. You have the experience both living in a socialist country and living here in the United States. You've got a very different perspective, and it's refreshing to listen to you, and I commend you for number one.
She sounds more American than a lot of American citizens that I know.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, technically she is America because she's from, or American because she is from South America. Right. But anyway, you sound like a real U.S. citizen.
Or patriot.
And somebody that really has done the study and the research on what made America great originally, and you sound like you're just going back to our founding fathers and really adhering to the principles that made America what it was 230 plus years ago. And I agree with you. Donald Trump was at least in the top 2 or 3 presidents in the country. I'm gonna put him right there with Ronald Reagan, and you didn't have the pleasure of living under Ronald Reagan and his leadership, but I'm seeing some things from your perspective. You've got a shout out for America that is very different from those people that have been here their entire life. You've seen both sides of the tracks, so to speak. What is your message? How do we, as American citizens, how do we take our country back? What do we do to get us back on the right track, besides the obvious things with voting for the right people and that sort of thing? What's your perspective on things?
Well, to get us for the right track, so there's many things. We talk local involvement, candidates, and all of that, but also purchasing habits. It's not easy, but some of the things that I try to do from my side is, okay, what are the companies that I'm finding that are going against the America that I want? You can say the woke companies. Get away from those companies. I know it's very comfortable to go to this online monster and go and buy something and get it on your door your same day or the day after. But if we focus more in buying local, I don't know, there's different sites, like we have Patriot-owned business that is, hey, these are people that are America first. They have their business. We can purchase from them. Then if you know somebody that, hey, if there's a race or something in your district and nobody's running, go and run for something. It costs, like for local elections, if you're looking city council, student board, is a few hundreds of dollars that you could collect it and go and run. Try to make a difference. Try to get involved. Talk to people. Another good place to get involved, gun shows. There's a lot of activists that go to gun shows to recruit people as well. But yeah, getting involved, be active, anything that you can do, whether if it's like, hey, I cannot do anything from home, get involved with a candidate, and there's text messages party that they just give you a script, all you do, analyze, and you just text message people, or blog walk for the candidates, or as I say, host events, and because get involved in the primaries, get involved within your party, because there's issues within our parties as well. It's not that Republicans are bad, Democrats are good, or Democrats are good, Republicans are bad. No, both parties have issues, and there's good people in both parties that sometimes their ideas don't get represented because of this establishment. And the only way to fix that is getting into the party. Trust me, I know some people that have not become very popular among the Republican Party, but it's a way of curbing their behavior. And last, pay attention with what is going on. Don't read headlines. We are in a generation of people that browse through the news, reading headliners. No, unfortunately, we need to be more informed. We need to look at the content. We need to read and be like, this doesn't make sense. Be informed. Let's not be reacted by feelings just because somebody tells us something is wrong. Let's go to the source and find if that is really wrong and if we are being told the truth or not, because that is the problem nowadays, all of this misinformation going around. So yeah, get involved, get informed.
Okay, you immediately or very soon after coming to the United States, getting married to your husband, getting involved in the whole process of becoming a U.S. citizen, that whole process. But you have been very involved in the whole immigration issue. But now you've got another organization that you're working with that has saved Texas. And tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are with the Safe Texas Rally and prayer. What's your impetus in starting that? What are you looking to accomplish with that? Who are you trying to reach with that?
So our thoughts when created, because the premise of the Safe Texas Rally and Prayer is that we are a committee. We are a committee of different grassroots organization leaders that we came together as to strengthen our message. Because until we did that, there were like so many events. Oh, event for election integrity, event for the border, event for vaccine, events for monument protection. And we were like, many people care about all of these events. Why don't we join forces and get together? And that way we can get a better visibility and better involvement, better action of the people. And as you can see, those are many of the grassroots organizations that have joined us. This was in the rally that we held a rally in February at the Capitol. We were attempting to push for a fourth special session. Unfortunately, Governor Abbott did not care enough to do so, because for us, the problem here in Texas is that we kept on hearing like, oh, the last legislator was the most conservative ever. But again, headline. But if you look at the actual things that they passed, it was not very conservative. Election integrity, they didn't go back to the pre-COVID standards, and they even lowered penalties from felonies to misdemeanors. So how is that the heartbeat bill? I know everybody laughs and is raving about the heartbeat bill. For me, that puts the burden on the private citizen to go and sue Planned Parenthood and the person getting the abortion. Why? It's not on us. It should be the government taking control. I'm not the police to go and sue anybody for this. Why should I? So that is the problem. We noticed that all of these priorities that were being passed were very diluted. And we needed to start bringing visibility of that, because a lot of people are like, no, our politicians are good. They're passing this. They're like, no. They could be passing this, and they're passing this. So we have an issue. We shouldn't be settling for this when we should be getting this more here in Texas, that we have the governor, lieutenant governor, Senate, and the legislator, all are Republicans. But we are giving Democrats committees and letting them leave the state and block laws from them to happening. So yeah, it's we realized that we need to join forces. If like there's too many groups, too many organizations working separate, if we want to make a difference, we need to be united. And to be united, we need a committee where everybody votes. We don't need a head or anything like that. We're all smart people. We're active people. We all have our different strengths that we leverage. And we found that that has been working really fantastic, because there's no competitions of, oh, I want to be the people. No. We all have the same goal, is we want to better Texas as to better our country. So yeah, that's how Safe Texas Rally came to life.
That is excellent. So I'm going to guess that if we took the word Texas out and put Florida or Missouri or Kansas or Louisiana or New York, there are similar organizations to what you are doing all across the country, all of them grassroots. Get involved, get active, figure out exactly what's going on to get us back to where we need to be as a truly free country and get back to the conservative roots. So are there any recommendations? We've only got a minute or so left. Any other recommendations you can give to other people around the country? Are there organizations they should be looking for?
A recommendation, if they have any question or if there's not something like this in their state, contact me. I can help you out with that. And my bigger recommendation to the American people, whether if they're not active yet, get active, get involved, get informed. And if you're active, don't get demotivated. Is because there are so many situations that even for me it happens. Some days I'm like, my gosh, it's coming from everywhere. What am I gonna do? But reality of life, we don't have an option, people. We need to keep on pushing. We need to keep on working for this country. We have a chance. We save America, we save the world. So if that is not incentive enough I don't know what I can tell you to incentivize you.
That is so true. Thank you, Lucila.
Thank you for being on our show today. To all our Taboo talkers that are out there, viewers, if you have questions, you can go to our Facebook page and leave a question or a comment where we'll answer it in as timely as possible. You can also subscribe to our YouTube page. As always, we'd like you guys to like, share, comment, and subscribe so that we get a bigger footprint, a larger footprint out there and reach more people. Once again, Taboo Talk is brought to you by Heroes in Action, which we're doing our annual fundraiser with Give SDL Day. If you're able to make any type of a donation, that would be great. It would help us out as we get more involved in our communities. As she had said, get involved. So we try to get involved as much as we can. You can scan the QR code to get more information about how to donate to Heroes in Action. Our next show for next week is going to be with Officer Ed Novak, talking about drugs in our schools and in our communities. Thanks again for joining us, and we will see you next time. Cecilia, thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, thank you, and goodbye.